Hi, in this tutorial I will give an overview of an OPC UA server I have made using LabVIEW. So I call the application for LabVIEW OPC UA Demo Server. So here you see the contents of this tutorial. I will demonstrate the LabVIEW OPC UA Demo software. It consists of a LabVIEW OPC UA Demo Server and a LabVIEW OPC UA Demo Client. In order to install this demo software, you just download the zip file from my web page, and in addition you need to install the LabVIEW runtime engine. If you don't have the LabVIEW programming environment, you only need to install the LabVIEW runtime engine. This is a free download that you can download and install in order to use this LabVIEW OPC UA demo software. I will also demonstrate and give an overview of the LabVIEW project. I will give an overview of the LabVIEW source code. In order to use the source code, you also need to have the LabVIEW OPC UA Toolkit. So here you see an overview of the application. So here you see the OPC UA demo server. You just start and stop the server here, and when you start the server address will be presented here. Here you get an overview of the available items in the OPC server. You can also click on the settings in order to add or remove more items that you can use. You can also click right here in order to write values to the OPC server. And here you see the OPC UA client. So in the OPC UA client you can enter the server address here, which you find here on the server tool. Then you just click connect in order to connect to the server, or you can disconnect from the server. Here you specify the item or the node ID, which you find here on the server software. You just enter the node ID, and the value, the status and the date time will be presented here. You can also write new values to that specific node, or you can choose another node that are available from the server. And as mentioned, you can click the settings in order to add new nodes here in the system. So basically, in order to start using the LabVIEW OPC UA demo software, you need to download the zip file, including the executable applications for the demo server and for the demo client. In addition, you need to download the LabVIEW runtime engine to make it possible to run the executable files. So let's start using applications. So this is the files that you will get when you download and unzip the zip file. So here you find the server, LabVIEW OPC UA Server .exe, and here you find the client, LabVIEW OPC UA Client.exe. So let's just run the server and the client. I just double click on them. So here you see the server. Let's open the client as well. So here you see the client. So then I can just click start here in order to start the server, but let's first just check the available tags that you can set up in the server. So just click settings, and here you see the server comes with 3 items, namely temperature, pressure and thermistor, and you can click add in order to add new. Let's say we want to have a PT100 sensor that you want to use. Then you just click here in order to add it. You can also edit if you want to change the name, the data type, the access level or the description. You can also click on one of the items and delete them. And these values are stored in this file, this OPC nodes.ini. So if I just open this file in Notepad, then you will see that the same information are stored here in the file. So either you can edit the items here using the graphical user interface, or you can directly update the file here. So if I just here enter a new one, I just copy the previous one, call it node 5. I can just for fun call it PT200 and then just save this file. And then if I close this one and open it, and you see it will be available here. So then I can also click here in order to delete it, and then if I refresh the file, you will see that this information has been deleted. So basically this is how you configure the items that you have available on the server. So the next now is just to start the server, click the start button, and then you see the available items and the value. Next we can write some values to the server, so I can just click the write button, and then I select the proper node. So we have this either temperature, pressure, thermistor, and this new one, PT100. Let's start with temperature. I set the value to be 20, click OK, and then you see the value has been stored on the OPC server. Next, let's do the same for the pressure. Pressure could be 30, then you see the value has been updated. Let's do the same for the others. Thermistor should be 22, and finally this PT100 would be 25. So then you see we have the values for these 4 items here on the LabVIEW OPC UA server. So now let's start the LabVIEW OPC UA client. Then you just copy the server address, put it in here, connect to the server, and now this green light means that we are connected to the server. And then let's just copy one of the node IDs, put it in here, and then you see the values for that specific value has been read, and also the status and the date time. You can also update the value. Let's say we want to change it to 21, click write, and then you see the updated value here on the server is now 21. Let's do the same for some of the other items here. I can just copy and paste. The pressure is, as you see, 30. Let's update it to 31, click write, and then you see it's updated. Same for the thermistor, like this. So now the thermistor is 22, let's change it to 23, and then you see the value has been updated. And I can also go back here, click on this arrow, go to the temperature. As you see it's 21, I can change it to 22, and you see it's updated like this. So basically this is the LabVIEW OPC UA server and the LabVIEW OPC UA client. If you need more clients, you can just go to the file explorer where you have the files, and then here you have the executable application for the client. I can just copy and paste to make a copy. So now I have 2 OPC UA clients, so I can just double click on this one. And now you see I am running 2 OPC UA clients in parallel. So I just start by copying the server address, connect to the server. I want to read the same temperature node like this. And now you see I can run these 2 OPC UA clients in parallel, and both are able to read and write values to the OPC UA server. So now I can change the temperature value to back to 19 degrees or something, click write, and then you see it's updated here on the other client, and it's also updated here on the server side. So basically this is the LabVIEW OPC UA server, and this is the LabVIEW OPC UA client. And in order to install and download the LabVIEW runtime, you just click here, LabVIEW runtime engine in Google, and you just click here on this link, and then here you have the LabVIEW runtime. You can select Windows and the latest version, and then just download and install it like this. And when you have installed the LabVIEW runtime, you can download the zip file and start using the LabVIEW OPC UA demo software. In addition to use the executable application, you can also download the entire LabVIEW project and the source code for this LabVIEW OPC UA software. But in order to use the source code, of course, you need to have the LabVIEW programming environment installed. In addition, you also need to have the LabVIEW OPC UA Toolkit. Here is an overview of the LabVIEW OPC UA Server project. It consists of two main applications, which has been demonstrated, the LabVIEW OPC UA Server application and the LabVIEW OPC UA client application. In addition, the project consists of several sub-VIs. These OPC nodes.ini, where the items are stored. You can also have here in the build specification, you can, when you have for some reason updated the code, you can build new executable applications that you can use in your project. So let's go through this source code and the LabVIEW project in more detail. So first, notice that you need LabVIEW, the LabVIEW programming environment, and the LabVIEW OPC UA Toolkit. And if you have installed the LabVIEW OPC UA Toolkit, you will find this palette in LabVIEW, the data communication, and the sub-palette called OPC UA. And here you find the OPC UA palette. Here you have sub-palettes for creating an OPC UA server and a sub-palette for creating an OPC UA client. So here you see the sub-palette for creating an OPC UA server, and here you see the sub-palette for creating an OPC UA client. So let's go through the source code for both the OPC UA server and the OPC UA client. Here you see the LabVIEW project on my hard drive. So here is the main project. Here under applications, here are the built executable application placed. Here is the main VIs for the server and the client. Here under resources you have some icons, etc. And in the sub-VI folder you have all the sub-VIs that are used in this project. So let's just open the project by double-clicking on the project file. And now we have the LabVIEW project here. In the main folder we have the server and the client. We have resources, which are some icons that are used when you are building the executables. Here you have the sub-VIs that are used in the server and the client application. Here we have these OPC nodes, where it's just a text file where we have all the nodes that can be used in the system, and here we can either manually add new nodes or we can use the server use interface. In addition, here under build specification we can easily build new OPC UA server and client if we have changed the source code. So then we can just right click and click build in order to build new executable applications for either the server or the client. But let's start by opening this LabVIEW OPC UA server, which you find here. So this is the front panel, as we call it in LabVIEW. By clicking Ctrl E, we see the block diagram. Here I'm using a technique called state machine. A state machine consists of a while loop, a case structure, and an event structure. So these three loops together are what we call a state machine. So then let's just go through the different steps. The first step here is to initialize, and we have this case called initialize. Here I just reset some of the user interface objects, so that I just clear the server address, I clear the items, etc. Make sure the start button can be pushed and the stop button is not pushed before we have started the server, etc. So then next it goes to wait, which is this event structure. Here the program is just waiting for some of the buttons to be clicked and then if we click on the settings button, then LabVIEW goes into this case, and next the settings case, which you find here. And then it opens this sub-VI where you can add or get an overview of the items and add new items, edit items, delete items, etc. If we click on start here, the LabVIEW application will go to start button, and then it will just disable the start and enable the stop button, and then next it will go to the case called create server, which you find here. So it will create the LabVIEW OPC UA server, then it will create the necessary folders and items. So it will basically read from this text file, which you have here, and put them in this list. Next it will start the server, so then it goes into this case, just starting server, and then it will go back to wait for the user either to click on the settings button or the stop button or the right button. If the user clicks on the right button, it goes into this one, write data, which you find here, and here is a sub-VI for writing data to the server. If you stop the server, it goes into stop server like this, and if you click exit, it will go into the exit button and the application will stop. So that's the LabVIEW OPC UA server. Let's just close the server and then open the client, which you find here. And here, basically, this is the front panel or the graphical user interface, and we click Ctrl E in order to go to the block diagram. And the application is built in the same way. It's a state machine where we start with initialization here, then it goes to wait, and then we just wait for the user to click on either the connect button, etc. So if you click on the connect button, it goes to connect to the server, which you find here, and it just basically connects to the LabVIEW OPC UA server. And then of course you need to first enter the server address in order to connect to the server. So when you are connected to the server, you can either disconnect or specify a node ID here and then retrieve values from the server. So when you specify something here, it will go into read data, and then it will read the value, the status, and the datetime from the server and present them here in these indicators. If you click right, it will go into this case, and then basically just write this specific value to the server like this. So basically these are the applications: the LabVIEW OPC UA server and the LabVIEW OPC UA client. So assuming you have made some changes, you want to create a new executable application, you just click on the LabVIEW OPC UA server here. Open this one and click build. And then a new executable application will be created. It takes some time in order to create the executable, and finally it's done. You can do the same for the server. You can either double click or you can just right click, click build. And now we have created a new executable application for the server and the client, and then we can go to our file explorer, go to applications, and then you see we have the server here. We can just open it, and we have the client here. So these are executable applications that can run without having the LabVIEW programming environment installed on your computer. You only need the LabVIEW runtime. So basically, this is the LabVIEW project called LabVIEW OPC UA Server, consisting of a LabVIEW OPC UA Server and a LabVIEW OPC UA client. So that's all. So thank you and goodbye.